All right, today we're going to unpack a phrase you think you know. It's that universal sigh of frustration, right? That feeling that the universe itself has it out for you.
Yeah, we're talking about Murphy's Law.
We've all said it. You know, when the toast lands butter side down or when you hit every single red light on your way to a meeting you're already late for. But is this famous saying of cosmic pessimism, is it really what it seems?
Well, the real story is way more surprising, more debated, and honestly a lot more interesting than you'd think. It's a tale that involves high-speed rocket sleds, a really simple human error, and a huge controversy over what was actually said that day.
To get to the bottom of this, we've got to go back in time. We're in the California desert in the late 1940s, at what would eventually become Edwards Air Force Base. The U.S. Air Force was running these insane high-stakes experiments to figure out just how much the human body could possibly take.
And this guy? This is Colonel John Stapp. He was a flight surgeon, and he was basically the human guinea pig for all these tests. He'd strap himself into this rocket sled to test the absolute limits of G-forces, which earned him the nickname, the fastest man on Earth. Okay, so to get good data from these incredibly dangerous runs, the project needed a brand new sensor system. And that's where Captain Edward A. Murphy Jr. comes in. He was an engineer, and he designed this set of 16 electronic strain gauges for the harness. But on the very first test run, with the chimpanzees the subject by the way, they hit a major snag. So picture this, the rocket sled fires off, the test seems to go perfectly. But there's a problem. The data readout is zero, nothing, a complete and total failure. And why? Well, it turns out every single one of those 16 sensors was installed backwards. And in that moment of pure frustration, Captain Murphy muttered something about his technician, a comment that would somehow become the seed of a legend. But here is where the story gets really complicated. Because what Murphy actually said and what he really meant by it has been debated for decades. The law we all know and quote today, it might be a complete misinterpretation of what happened. And this is the core of the whole mystery. We think of Murphy's Law as this fatalistic, pessimistic sigh. You know, the universe is out to get me. But the original idea was probably something much more practical, a principle of defensive design. Murphy was likely saying that you have to design systems to be completely foolproof because if there's a way to make a mistake, you have to assume someone, someday, will.
I mean, the people who were actually there can't even agree. George Nichols, another engineer on the project, said Murphy was just arrogantly blaming his technician, and the team started calling it Murphy's Law basically as a joke to mock him. But Murphy's own son, Robert, swears his dad was laying out a serious cautionary principle for all engineers to follow. And listen to this. This is the exact quote, according to Nichols. See how specific that is? It's not some grand universal law. It's a very direct and pretty harsh jab at one specific technician. This is almost certainly where it all started.
So, if the origin story is this messy, you have to wonder, was Captain Murphy even the first person to have this thought? The answer is, not even close. This idea had been floating around for centuries. Turns out, this idea was already in the water, you know? It had been bubbling up for ages, long before any rocket sleds were involved. People like the mathematician Augustus de Morgan and even a British stage magician named Neville Maskelyne were already writing about the exact same feeling. And you can just see this pattern building over the decades. In 1866, a mathematician frames it as a rule of probability. Then, in 1877, an engineer applies it to ships at sea. And get this, in 1908, a magician uses it to talk about stage fright. The idea was definitely out there. Murphy just happened to be in the right place at the right time to get his name stuck to it forever. Okay, so let's get to the big question. If it's not a real law of physics, and the whole origin is just a disputed anecdote, why does it feel so profoundly, undeniably true to every single one of us? Well, the answer isn't in the cosmos. It's in our own heads. The biggest reason by far is a little mental shortcut called confirmation bias. We are just hardwired to notice and remember the times things go wrong way more vividly than the countless, invisible times they go right. I mean, think about it. The one time your computer crashes is this huge, memorable event. The thousands of times it boots up perfectly, that's just normal. You don't even notice. The author Richard Dawkins put it perfectly. We live in a world where things are constantly working. The lights turn on, the car starts, the internet connects. We only pay attention to the system when there's a failure, when it becomes a nuisance, and that's what sticks in our memory. And the second reason is just pure, simple statistics. It's called the law of truly large numbers. And it basically says that if you have enough opportunities, even a 1 in a million bad thing is eventually going to happen. With billions of people dropping toast every year, it's not bad luck when some lands butter side down, it's a statistical certainty.
So here's the bottom line. Murphy's Law isn't some mystical, pessimistic force. It's a powerful illusion, and it's created by the combination of our own psychology and basic probability. We're just wired to see the pattern, even when it's not really there. So the whole story comes full circle. What started as a very specific engineering principle about designing for human error got twisted into this universal catchphrase for pessimism. But in the end, Murphy's Law tells us almost nothing about the universe and a whole lot about the faulty wiring in our own brains. So the next time your toast lands butter side down, you have to ask yourself, is the universe really conspiring against me? Or am I just forgetting all the thousands of times it landed right side up?